Greetings to all my channel viewers. There's a good news for electronics manufacturing field. Central government has taken one more step towards AtmaNirbhar Bharat. Electronics manufacturing incentive schemes have been initiated. These three schemes together give a booster of about $6.6 billion, which is roughly about 50,000 crore to electronics manufacturing sector. It focuses on value creation, complete manufacturing chain, as well as job creations. If you are yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so that you will not miss on any important videos. This was one important video which I showed a few days back where we spoke about a boom in electronics manufacturing industry and how global companies are moving their base away from China and how India is preparing for making best out of it. Then you might have enjoyed this second video, which shows how Atmanirbhar Bharat concept applies very appropriately to the electronics manufacturing setup, how it benefits from the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat. As you might remember, this particular video had a lot of facts and figures and important graphs. I'm sure you would have enjoyed it. So please do subscribe to the channel to see similar good videos and good information. So moving on to the good news, let's look at which are these three schemes, what do they bring to the table and why they are so good. So first amongst these three schemes is PLI, stands for Production Linked Incentive Scheme. It is targeted at mobile manufacturing units, large companies which manufacture mobile phones, as well as for the specified electronic component manufacturers. Initially, government is planning to incentivize 10 firms, out of which 5 will be global companies, large companies manufacturing mobiles, and 5 will be local companies. There are separate guidelines for the local companies and the global companies. The second scheme is very useful as well, a component manufacturing scheme where government is directly investing money into the business. Very useful. We'll talk more about that specifically from the startup perspective. The third scheme is a modified and renewed electronics manufacturing clusters scheme, EMC scheme, which directly or indirectly helps the entire supply chain of electronic manufacturing sector. Quickly looking at these three schemes does not give us the benefit information, but we can see more about benefits. These schemes were already approved, but this week government has started inviting applications under these schemes, so the good news is doubled. In addition to that, with these three schemes, government is aiming to manufacture electronics worth 8 lakh crore. It seems as a big target, it seems as a a big leap, but definitely achievable and needs to be done. In addition to that, a very welcome news that directly all these three schemes and companies coming under these schemes within next 5 years can generate employment of about 10 lakh people and probably indirect employment of about 5 lakh. So together direct and indirect employment of 15 lakh people in next 5 years. Global companies like Foxconn, Wixtron, which manufacture iPhone, and Samsung can be a beneficiary. We need to see applications are invited. We need to see who gets selected. Similarly, Indian companies like Lava, Carbon, Micromax, and Intex can be beneficiary on the PLI scheme front. From the structure point of view, this is how the scheme works. There will be a base year taken, after which the company has to invest for 5 years. Company has to ensure that there is a growth in its manufacturing, in its output. The target segments taken are mobile phone as well as some specified electronic components. As we said, tenure is over 5 years after the base year. And then depending upon the range of output as well as the amount invested, government will pay incentive of the tune of 4% to 6% every year to that manufacturing company. Important point to know that the company has to also help in getting the rest of the supply chain from within India. The eligibility criteria as well as how the incentives will be paid out is mentioned here. Different columns indicate different eligibilities. For example, incremental investment over the base year. As we discussed in the previous slide, 2019-20 has been taken as a base year. Compared to that, suppose the manufacturer invests around 1000 crores over the 4 years, and this is how the sales goes on incrementally or grows incrementally, then the manufacturer is entitled to get these type of incentives. Now let's look at this second scheme called Promotion of Manufacturing of Electronic Components and Semiconductors, also called as SPECS. So in this SPECS scheme, why it is so important and why I like this scheme a lot is because you see that the amount of investment considered as a threshold here starts right from 5 crore, which means that this scheme is really beneficial for a lot of startups. This scheme encourages startups and small and medium enterprises to get into the electronic component business. Most of my viewers who have subscribed and seen my previous video would remember that it is not sufficient to import the components and then do the assembly. That's not the way we want to go. We want to get independent, self-sufficient, self-reliant in electronic component manufacturing also. The wafer level technologies also we need to work on. Considering that aspect, this particular scheme is beneficial to startup. A direct financial incentive of the tune of 25% will be provided. It will be a part of capital expenditure spent, which is already completely spent by the manufacturer or the startup. We can also see that plants, machinery, equipments, everything except for the land and building infrastructure, almost all the other things including R&D is covered under the eligibility. Once again, let me remind you that it talks about 5 crore as a starting point for minimum investment threshold, and that's why this is very useful to the startup type of setups. Any questions on this, feel free to mention it on the comments area along with your email. We'll get back to you and answer your queries on this. The third and also very useful scheme is Electronics Manufacturing Clusters 2.0. That's why it's called as Modified or Renewed EMC 2.0 scheme. If most of you might be remembering that SEZs were created for IT companies and they gave a lot of tax soaps, etc. That is one purpose of EMC. It ensures that there are standard factory sheds, there are world-class plug-and-play infrastructures which are created. In addition to that objective, EMC also has an important objective of having a comprehensive supply chain or the entire end-to-end ecosystem at one place, or allowing that to get created in the nearby vicinity, so that it helps in terms of strengthening the electronic manufacturing base. It reduces infrastructure cost, logistics cost, etc., and it helps in creating common facilities for all the elements in the supply chain. Hope this video gives you a good overview of these three schemes and how they are useful, beneficial to the manufacturing sectors in electronics industry. Do keep watching such videos, do subscribe to the channel and ensure that you have your notifications on. Before we conclude today's video, please do go through the next message. It is a little old message from IT Secretary Mr. Ajay Soni, and a very encouraging and very important one.
Scheme is now being planned, and apart from that, another scheme that would serve as a replacement for many of the activities earlier covered under MSIPs is also in the offing, apart from Electronic Manufacturing Cluster 2.0. These schemes will go a long way in making it very attractive to take up manufacturing, especially of high-end smartphones within the country. In addition, we expect it to be a very attractive ecosystem for manufacturing of core components and bringing in ATMP for the semiconductor semiconductors as well. In addition, we expect it to be a very attractive ecosystem for manufacturing of core components and bringing in ATMP for the semiconductors as well.